And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Sometimes we love a Starlink mission so much that we like to do it the 3 times. And this is one of them apparently. We are here for the 3rd attempt of a launch of the Starlink 6-77 mission, where we had a bit of an adventure so far in terms of getting this rocket off the pad. My name is Adrian Beil, as mentioned there in top right, and I'm your host for this Starlink for the 3rd time. And also for the 3rd time, I am joined by Alex. Alex, how why is this not off the pad yet?
I don't know. We're still here, right? It's the same rocket. They have not changed it overnight or anything, right? Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're still here with Starlink 677 on Slick 40. Man, I hope it goes off today.
Yeah, it would be good. Would be good. I as much as I love Starlinks, at some point I really would love to see this fly, because the coolest part of a rocket launch is to actually see it fly. So yeah, that's of course Alex also joining me as a co-commentator here, and in the field joining us here is D. D, how is it going?
It's always a good day for a Starlink. It is good to be back out here, and especially during the actual day. We've got sunlight here, a nice breeze, and there is a rocket on the pad, hopefully launching in just under an hour. So hopefully a really good day here.
Absolutely, and let's hope we'll get there. We will go through everything, and of course behind the scenes we have also for a 3rd time I think at this point, Jay Keegan, joining us here as the live stream operator, and also hoping that this Starlink launches today. So if you have any questions about this Starlink, about whatever happens today, and also about Starship, about rockets, make sure to tag at NASA Spaceflight in chat, as we are ready here to spend the next 56 minutes with you all until we get, hopefully, a launch of this mission. And with that, Alex, I know you have practice at this point. Do you mind giving us an overview of the mission and what to expect today?
Yeah, so again, 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites today on Starlink 677. Booster B1085 doing its 3rd launch. Unfortunately, not being as quickly as we thought it would have been, now up to 40 days of turnaround time because of all of these delays. It'll be landing on just with the instructions of the coast of the Bahamas, and we'll see also these ferrying halves being recovered by Bob, although we will not actually see them literally right now. In a few days, you can check out Space Coast Live for that boat to come back with those ferrying halves. But you can see there, that's the trajectory for today. Again, southeast launch trajectory, Group 6 missions are like that. Now, potentially what I can handle right now that we didn't talk in the last 2 attempts was that 77 on Starlink 677, right? Essentially, it will be sort of the 77th mission index, I guess, on the Group 6 list of missions, but it is not the 77th Group 6 mission. There's been essentially a few of them that have been skipped, let's put it that way. For example, Starlink 650 did not launch, and we have not had any of the Starlink Group 6 missions from 65 to 76, although the next mission after this, Out of the Cape, it's supposed to be Starlink 669 and then 668. So we'll have in the middle there, in that big gap in between, we'll have at least 2 consecutive launches. But again, not in order, right? Because it's 77, then 69, then 68. But I know a lot of people usually ask about that. So I guess I can handle something like that because it's different from what we, what we talked in the last 2 attempts. But hopefully, also to recap a bit of what happened in the last 2 attempts. The first attempt had to do with a helium issue loading into the first stage, right? We have no idea what the cause of that was, but it seemed to be at least maybe ground side. We have no details, of course. We just have very few details essentially. And then the second attempt yesterday, it also scrapped well before even propellant load started, and we don't really know why. SpaceX never said anything about that. The weather was a little bit iffy. We actually went all the way to the end of the window. Hopefully today that is not the case though, and we get a launch in 53 minutes.
There you go. That's your quick overview. And of course, you have the honor now to tell me, how is the weather at the Cape?
The weather is really good. It is a lot better than yesterday. So the 45th Weather Squadron that puts out the predictions for this is giving it a 90% go. There's a 10% probability of violation for the cumulus cloud rule, but it is a pleasant day out here with a calm breeze. We had some more wind earlier this week, but that's died down. There are no additional risk issues as far as booster recovery weather, upper level wind shear, or solar activity. Those are all low. So the weather is far, far better than yesterday's attempt, which did have a 70% probability of violation with booster recovery weather issues. And of course, it did not launch yesterday, although we don't know exactly why. But yeah, it is a gorgeous day out here. And it's always a good day for a launch, but having good weather ahead of time does make it better.
There we go. It looks better than yesterday. I think yesterday was a bit. It was a bit on the iffy conditions. So yeah. Today actually kind of good day for launching, although not the best for visibility. It's a bit gray, a bit hazy. But hey,
I will say, as I say that, there are some higher level clouds coming over. So it is a little bit overcast, but if I look in the opposite direction of the launch pad, it is blue skies.
there we go. I like blue skies. We like that. So let's hope these blue skies move all over the launch pad until the launch, which is in 51 minutes from now. As of now, SpaceX has on their website this launch still targeting 3:13 p.m. Eastern. And in theory, the window goes 4 hours, correct, Alex?
Yeah, the last launch attempt right now should be at 7:09 p.m. Eastern. Of course, we don't want that to be the case, but they have up until then to be able to launch today's mission. And let's hope it is today's mission.
Okay, and with that, I will start the Q&A session. And again, if you have questions for us, tag at NASA Spaceflight in chat. And before I do that, I want to quickly thank 2 people here, starting with Ethereal Swordsman with a $2 super chat saying, I got a bunch of questions today, so get ready. I'm ready. We're always ready for questions. Questions good. And then also we have Musical Wolves with the super chat saying, can't wait till Flight 6 patch. And I can resonate with that statement. I'm looking forward to reveal it. And with that, Alex, I have a question for you. Does the payload satellites stay pressurized during ascent inside the fairings, or stabilize it as it goes? Like, what's the ambient pressure inside of the fairing?
Yeah, the fairing has vents on it. It's more like openings, right? That allow the fairing to be able to get, to eventually equalize that pressure as it ascends through the atmosphere, such that whenever it gets to the point of deploying the fairing halves, because if you imagine it were to be pressurized all the way up, first you're carrying useless air, right? Because you're essentially keeping air inside of the fairing and carrying into space, which you don't need to. But also when you open up the fairing halves, they will shoot off, right? Because you have more pressure inside, and now you're releasing that pressure, and so they will just shoot off everywhere and tumble irregularly and everything. It's not that you couldn't do it. It's just that it's not a very gentle wave to separate those fairing halves in predictable ways. Most importantly, when you have these pushers and everything that they use on pneumatic pushers to be able to separate the two fairing halves, that's a lot more easier, right? So they have these vents that allow them to be able to equalize that pressure as the rocket goes into thinner atmosphere.
There you go. That's always interesting because the fairings, like it feels like a fairly simple concept. Like, okay, you have a wrapping around your satellite, right? But there goes a lot of things into these fairings, especially if you see them from the inside. There's so much technology attached to these fairings that they use for all the kinds of right conditioning and also supplying the stack and everything. It's quite a science in itself, right? To protect the satellite. So
yeah, like right now, well, for Starlinks, I probably don't expect any special conditions, I should say, but because it's a SpaceX, they probably try to get them as simple as possible so that they don't need any special conditions. But that's just me guessing, right? We really have no idea. But for example, there's a lot of very sensitive payloads that they need a very special conditioning. And so, for example, when they are in this configuration right now that we see here, the rocket vertical in the pad, there's an umbilical that connects to the fairing. And so that umbilical allows to flow in, nitrogen gas, just neutral atmosphere with no contaminants on it, and you can control the humidity, you can control the pressure. Because even though it is, it has these openings to be able to, equalize the pressure, you can still have more pressure inside of the fairing while it is on the ground if you keep supplying air and sort of you supply that air at higher pressure than the outside, and so the inside of the fairing will be a little bit more pressurized. And that's a very common thing, especially to try to purge out all of the air that you don't want to be inside of the fairing. And that's also a way to keep out the exterior air, right? Because if you have a positive pressure coming out of the fairing, you don't let all of the humidity from Florida, for example, to go inside. And that's very critical for some payloads where you really don't want to get humidity from Florida on sensitive optics and things like that. But then you can see that fairing separation. Thanks you, Jay, for that view. For Starlink satellites, we've noticed though that a bunch of the fairing systems are either stripped down or completely, simplified and or like either removed or simplified. And so we think that perhaps SpaceX made these Starlink satellites to not need any special, AC and things like that, conditioning and whatnot.
Yeah, basically these Starlink satellites kind of launch on a truck on a bumpy road, right? Because for other satellites, SpaceX is very careful about like making sure that the satellites meet the requirements of the customers, and they have specific dampening and specific temperature control. And the Starlinks are kind of just a bit more streamlined from what we can tell. And they're constructed very durable to not have all of these features on the rocket needed, correct?
Yeah, let's say that I've heard stories, and that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, they're durable.
Yeah, like they're a bit more better. Like they're a bit more durable than your average satellite. I would imagine. So yeah, we are certainly moving along here in this countdown. Next question here, Alex. Does the COPV get loaded during propellant load or pre-roll rocket rollout? Or when do the COPVs on this rocket get loaded?
They get loaded during the countdown. Some of it gets loaded before propellant load, and then some other, depending on the type of COPV, and also, for example, the cryo-helium loading, the helium that is used for pressurization, it's called cryo-helium because it's the one that is cold. That one is loaded in phases. They load it a little bit before propellant load, and then they do again the rest of the way during propellant load. And that's sort of going back to things like MO6, for example. They don't want to repeat something like that where they changed the way they loaded the helium and everything in the propellants, and well, things went bad for those CPVs. That's what the price that you have to pay for having COPVs in a cryogenic tank. So far that we know, Starship does not suffer that kind of issue. As you can see, Super Heavy, for example, has a lot of these COPVs on the exterior under those chines, and on Starship, on the ship, we believe the majority of them are on the nose cone, right? So so far it doesn't seem like they need to go through all of those pains that Falcon 9 had to go through. But yeah, I believe the only thing that gets loaded in terms of consumables on the booster in the second stage are the T-tip canisters for in-space relights. But other than that, they pretty much load everything during the countdown.
I will go through some super chats here. I want to first thank Musical Wolves with the super chat and saying, since it's still a relatively new booster, not an ordinary Starlink, correct? And also requesting not an ordinary Starlink merge. I mean, D, would you agree? Like every rocket launcher special, even the Starlinks?
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's I don't want to say an ordinary Starlink because they're not all ordinary. Like whether it's just a late night one, we come out here, we see a late night Starlink. It has a pretty high use booster. I think the fact that I think I saw someone saying, well, it's a relatively new booster, so it's not an ordinary Starlink. The fact that we can say, oh, the rocket has only been used a handful of times, therefore this one's special, is a sign of how much spaceflight has changed in the last couple of years, because we have record-breaking reflights for orbital rocket boosters, and now the ones that have only flown a couple times are special. And I mean, this is only my second time out for this mission, but this is its third attempt overall. So there's something special about that.
There you go. It's not your ordinary Starlink. Which the trend just continues. We say that every time. Ethereal Swordsman here making the prediction too that they have a lot of questions for today. And I actually, D, this will directly go to you as well. What's everyone's favorite rocket exhaust plume? Super Heavy is very pretty, but SLS is so bright. Vulcan's construct is very cool too. Probably Vulcan for me, looking forward to VC6. D, what's your favorite rocket plume?
Okay, I am not going to give a single answer. I will give multiple answers. I'm
Go for
sorry,
it.
but I feel like I have to. So, Vulcan, I love the contrast of solids and liquids there. Like, we've got such great color difference. So, I'm really going to look forward to Vulcan flying with no solids. I think that'll be really cool. Of course, SLS, that one is gorgeous. There's a challenge in shooting stuff like that because the SRBs are just so bright. And I mean, you look at Starship and how massive that plume is. Like, there's no one answer. All of them have their own unique characteristics. And I didn't mention Falcon 9 there because we're so used to Falcon 9, but when you get it in the right lighting, especially for the just after sunsets or just before sunrises, they have a gorgeous plume too. Like, I think every rocket can create a gorgeous plume. And for me, at least, it's just, okay, what slight differences do we want to consider in how we shoot them, how we expose for them, and how we color grade after the fact? Like, they're the different color temperatures and characteristics of all of them are just so cool. So I'm not going to name just one.
There we go. Alex, any preference? Do you have like That one rocket plume?
Ah, it's so hard to actually, you know, I don't really have like a preferred one, unfortunately. I mean, yeah, Super Heavy's plume is really, really pleasing to the eye, right? But it's there are so many. I will say maybe it's probably easier to say the ones that I don't like. And sorry, for certain people watching out there, Ares 1 is hideous.
No.
Not just the rocket itself, but the plume, like just that single solid. It's like really, really, right?
The Ares fan club, all 6 members are
All
very
6 of them.
outraged.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wanna argue against that real quick because anytime that we have solids, it creates a gorgeous trail in the sky. And I did see Chris in the chat saying the upper stage plume of Ares 1X. But like anytime that you have solids, you get a massive trail from the launch pad to the rocket that you can follow with your eye, and it really makes it clear just how like fast and how far these rockets are going in such a short period of time.
I I will I am just enjoying the comments in the chat about the Ares
Yeah.
1 slander.
It's sort of that whole thing, right? It's like a lot of rockets have really cool plumes, like Soyuz with all the 32 different combustion chambers and everything. Like, have you looked at that, right? Like Falcon 9 when it goes up and the whole plume expands and everything. Like, that's cool because you can see the individual Merlin engines. Like, I don't know. There's so many, right? D also mentioned Vulcan. I'm really looking forward to New Glenn as well, whenever it launches, whenever that is, right? Hopefully soon. Cross your fingers. But yeah, like there's a like, no matter where you look, even not pleasing looking rockets, let's put it that way, have a really cool plume exhaust, except Ares 1, in my opinion.
Yep, like Soyuz, which looks hideous in my opinion. I said it. Sorry, Chad.
You also think that Saturn 5 does not look good, but
What about
I
Proton?
think- yeah, I don't like Saturn V. I don't like Proton. So I have a general dislike of rockets that change their diameter over the course of the staging. So I'm sorry. I like when the cores have the same diameter. That's why, for example, I like New Glenn. New Glenn is like very straight shape. Starship, another good example. I don't like pointy rockets. But to go away from this topic because I see Chad being a bit opinionated about this, I will quickly tell you that the Brevard AOC, which is the Emergency Operations Center, has announced that they have activated launch operation support in preparation for today's Starlink launch, which is good. We wanted to see that. And they still mention the target time of 3:13. And to our knowledge, the launch poll should have happened by this time, and that's why we bring up our handy timeline in the top left, I think, because I will quickly tell you that if the poll went good, we will see loading of RP1 and liquid oxygen on the first stage at 35 minutes, and then, of course, all the following events, like the 20-minute vent at 20 minutes, and everything else are going up to liftoff, which we will talk about. But yeah, we will see hopefully signs of venting and condensation in 3-4 minutes from now. Yesterday, that was actually the first indicator that we got that something was not launching today. So just to mention that happened yesterday.
Usually when they actually are going for a propellant load, right? We're always like, what's going to be first? It's this sort of game between either SpaceX confirming on X that they are going for propellant load, or we see the signs of frost on the vehicle. That usually happens around T-minus 31, T-minus 30 minutes. If the conditions are good, sometimes T-minus 32, but I will say maybe, more likely than not, it's 30 minutes before launch that we see that frost. So 4 minutes from now.
There you go. That's hopefully what we'll spot and see here. And we will point it out once. You will hear Alex saying something like, ooh, when he sees it. That's about what he usually does. India's Grinnis with the €5 super chat saying pluses and minuses for Starship Flight Test 6. Plus re-entry in daylight, I agree. And minus it would be a sleepless night for us Europeans. I mean, it won't, right, Alex? Like,
Well, yeah.
I mean,
If-
it's good for us actually.
Yeah, it will be, at least for Central Europeans, it will still be, I mean, unless you really have to go to sleep early, right? It will be at 11 p.m. It's a 30-minute window, so the sort of the latest that you're going to see the launch is 11:30 p.m. Central Time in Europe. And then the landing of the ship should be about an hour later. So 30 minutes past midnight at the latest is the last thing that we should see that day, right? So of course, if you really have to go to sleep early, sure, it's a bit of a pain, right? But you know, one day that you stay up a little bit late, might not be bad.
I see Marato, our Facebook admin, and also a fellow German yelling youngsters in the channel when you said it's not that bad for European time. So there you go. Apparently we are youngsters. But we'll see. It's good. It's nicer time, I think, the last time, because the last time we had, then you always have a lot of problems because I hate to get up early. So yeah. This feels nice. I like this. I know Kevin Michael Reed doesn't like it because it's at 6 a.m. or so, like pre-coverage and everything. So that's gonna be interesting. Another question here from no, actually a super chat from my mom said, when can we expect more Falcon 9 launches out of Vandenberg, since the West Coast is the best coast? Alex, is there a plan in increasing the cadence from Vandenberg in any shape or form?
Well, they were supposed to launch actually yesterday night, but they had another scrub. So we had back-to-back scrubs from SpaceX from both coasts. So yeah, instead of Cape disappointment, we had Falcon disappointment, I guess. But yeah, the whole the whole deal with Vandenberg is just, they have a lot more. They have launches scheduled. Of course, we will see more Falcon 9 launches out of Vandenberg, but we have those. So, like lately, they've been scrubbing left, right, and center. Let's be honest; it's not just been the Cape that has had issues, and I have no idea, because if we don't have here,
I have an update actually. The launch slipped by 6 minutes.
Really?
The SpaceX website is now saying liftoff is targeted for 3:19 p.m. That's a slip by 6 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That's odd.
That's odd.
Which will explain why we have not seen Frost yet, because it will be shifted by 6 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So it will be 6 minutes from now.
So we have a slip by 6 minutes. That's interesting. That's not usual Starlink slip. Usually it's like an hour or something, but this is just like, oh yeah, we launched 6 minutes later. That's
I can take that. But yeah, going back to precisely that scrub, for example, yesterday from Vandenberg, if we didn't know about what happened here at the Cape yesterday, we know even less about Vandenberg, because we don't even know things like weather forecast or anything. We cannot even guess that it was the weather. We cannot guess that it was the pad or it was the rocket. We have no idea, but it got delayed. And, maybe, for example, right now, this mission that it has shifted 6 minutes, usually when that happens, it usually tends to be that they want to optimize a little bit the launch time. But that's complete guessing out of my part, to be honest. That's, again, we have no insight. Unfortunately, SpaceX doesn't really give any details about this.
Yeah, this is Musical Wolves now suggesting in the super chat we need not your ordinary slip merch. Not sure about that, but it sounds very specific. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, sorry, I'm still a bit didn't expect that. So there we go. Alex, I'm throwing something to you here. which I think is a very interesting question. How many Starlinks in Falcon 9 versus Starship? Do you have any idea how many satellites we will expect on a Starship?
Frankly, I have no idea. There's been some estimated guesses based on the pest dispenser size and sort of what is expected to be the thickness of the upcoming Starlink V3 satellite. Because we expect for it to be very similar to the ones that we saw. You know, the ones that were going to be at one point the full Starlink V2s, but now they are Starlink V3s because they have, you know, it's been so many years already that they have already evolved the satellite to be a V3 rather than a V2, and so we think it's going to be about the same size. It's just that it's going to have a lot more capacity, more newer technology, and everything. So I think some of the estimates I've seen somewhere around 45 to 55, so somewhere in the middle, maybe 50 satellites, which would be approximately twice as many as they are carrying today, for example. And SpaceX just tweeted, Falcon 9 is ready, the weather is excellent, and propellant load has begun for today's launch of 23 Starlink satellites. So, yeah, we are under propellant load.
We are getting some frosty on the rocket very soon. Watch for the bottom of the rocket. It will appear like insanely fast once we get this confirmation. Although this is a relatively new booster, which usually means it's gonna be a bit harder to spot because it's still white. D, we have some questions here about if rain is bad for a rocket. You've seen plenty rockets out there while it rains, right? Like rain's no issue for a rocket.
Well, I wouldn't say no issue. They don't want to be launching through precipitation. So for the launch itself, definitely you don't want the rain. Then also, yeah, they can definitely sit outside in rain most of the time. That doesn't mean there haven't been times where water intrusion has led to issues for rockets sitting on the pad for an extended period of time in their spacecraft. Like, it could become an issue in very specific circumstances, but in general, it's Florida. It rains every day here. They are absolutely made to be able to handle a bit of rain, and we see that all the time.
There you go. So no, it's not an issue if it's on a pad. Of course, there are some weather-related issues that will prompt SpaceX to roll back a rocket or other companies. For example, if a major storm hits the Cape, that usually is a sign of let's get the rocket inside. That's usually a good call then. So yeah. Let's see here. Is it possible SpaceX might try a catch of the ship on the next Starship flight? That's not the plan, right, Alex?
Nope, not in the cards, unless they refer to the next after the next, which will be Flight 7. I will doubt that very much, though, because it's going to be the first Block 2 ship, but perhaps a few flights later down the line. Because, you know, it's the first of the Block 2 version, right? So I'm guessing that they probably want to first try a normal reentry, right? Sort of like they are doing now to see that all of the modifications for Block 2 work and are pretty much what they expect. And then later down the line, nail down that landing back on the launch site.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, also we get some updates here from the back channel from Neat Pizza that apparently Ship 33 and Ship 34 also do not feature any recovery hardware.
Yeah.
So
although
guiding pins, anything.
Yeah, I've also said that a few times in the past, but I will also be very clear that there's not an impediment in principle to retrofit those vehicles, right? One of the things that we've heard recently from SpaceX is that they want to strip down the heat shield tiles from the side of the vehicles, right? So that they are able to introduce that catching hardware, which is something that they may try. Like they're gonna test that reentry on Ship 31 on the next flight of Starship with the last Block 1 vehicle, right? They're going to try and see if that's successful. They already did a test on Flight 5 with aluminum tiles. And so, if they're able to do that with Ship 31, there's no way of 100% say, okay, 33 and 34 will not be retrofitted. They could somehow brute force that. I don't know how, but they could. So like it's maybe a 1% chance, but you never should discount that 1% chance.
There you go. I will quickly mention, because people are wondering about if the delay and everything was weather related. I would say 6 minutes sounds more like orbital collision avoidance potentially than weather, because weather changing that much in 6 minutes, I mean, it's not really improving that much your chances. And also your impression, of course, locally, weather doesn't seem to be any issue today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, weather in Florida changes fast, and it can change a lot minute to minute. But to be 35 minutes out and adjust by 6 minutes, I think you're definitely right that it would be more collision avoidance.
Yep.
And also, could even be just throwing another wild guess here. It could even be the plane, the orbital plane that this batch is going to. Like if they just want to shift by a little bit, that kind of thing, right? Like a 6 minute delay, just for reference, will be about 1.5 degrees of difference in the orbital plane. This is going way too deep into orbital mechanics, but it will be a drift in the kind of orbit that it will be going to. So just changing that, it's sort of like if you imagine wanting to go to the ISS, but now the ISS orbit, for whatever reason, it shifts a little bit, then you adjust your launch to be able to catch up to that. So instead you have to think backwards from there. Instead of being something that you need to rendezvous with, you actually just want to put the satellites there. And there's nothing in that orbit that you really actually want to meet with. It's just that you want to put those satellites there because that's what's best for your constellation, right? This is a constellation of like over 7,000 satellites already launched. And so when you have a lot of satellites like that, you probably want to spread them out in the most optimal way. And sometimes we see these very weird launch times as well. Like one day it is at 4 a.m. and then it shifts to 5 p.m. and then it goes to 6 p.m. and things like that. And so most of the time we think that, that's pretty much down to the orbital mechanics of trying to spread out all of these satellites.
There you go. D, we are getting some questions about where this camera is filming from and where would you be able to see this launch. You want to tackle that?
Absolutely. So I am currently at the Kennedy Space Center 39 press site. So that is right near the vehicle assembly building. As far as being able to watch these launches, this one off of 40, you could have a great view anywhere down along Cocoa Beach. But I'm not going to be able to go into all the places. I know that we do have a video on how to watch a rocket launch that goes over a whole bunch of the good places. But to name a few, Jetty Park has good viewing up the coast. That'll be an especially good one in the future when New Glenn starts to launch. There are places up to the north, such as Playa Linda Beach, that have a spectacular view for 41 and for 39A launches. So normally, when we are out here filming, we are at the press site, so that's not somewhere that is open to the public. However, there are a ton of great locations that you can go to watch launches like this. And for night launches, you don't even have to be too terribly close. I have seen launches from Orlando. So if you are anywhere within, I'd say, 50 miles of the Space Coast, and then also if you are anywhere south of Cape Canaveral, I would try to take a glance and look for this and any future launches for sure.
There you go. Next question here from Ethereal Swordsman again, coming in with the super chat. Thank you so much for that support. I know we always say that, but it's really, really appreciated on this third time of Starlink, and in general on these attempts of Starlink. The support has been really, really kind and really, really nice. So thanks everybody that has supported this. If there results man here with another question. My next question we answered partly in the last one, so new question. What does everyone think is the weirdest rocket? I nominate the later Titans or Delta 3. Ares 1. Any other opinions?
I mean, yeah, Delta 3 was quite a
Weirdest-
weird rocket. Sorry, go ahead.
Just no, not at all. Just because it's a weird rocket doesn't mean it's not a great rocket. And I'll just say
just
that. I think
weird.
some of the SRB, this is going to be a slightly hot take. Some of the SRB configurations on Atlas, if you just
Yes.
have a single SRB, I think that's absolutely weird, even though, I mean, it does the job. There's no point in putting more SRBs if they have the thrust they need. But when you have that asymmetric thrust, it's definitely a bit weird.
Yes, I think it was, what is it, Big Slider? The one that has just SRB on one side. Super weird.
Someone mentioning Roton.
Yeah, Roton pretty weird. Definitely
Yeah.
somewhere up there.
Not Proton, Roton.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The one with the helicopter blades and everything.
Ship 26 is not weird. Ship 26 is just wrong.
No, I was about to say I was literally about to thank you two for not saying anything about Ship 26.
Oh, yeah, it's not weird. It's just wrong. It's
No.
not. It's wonderful. So yeah, that's the that's our roundabout of like the weird looking rockets that we can quickly name. So yeah. Another question here. Oh, Alex, I know you answered this before, but just quick recap. Hi, asked at the end of yesterday's launch, how many launches have been in Group 6 so far? I'm fairly sure it has not been 76.
Oh yeah, it's not been 76, as I was mentioning before. There's been, for example, Starlink 650 was not launched. And there's been a serious gap between 664, which was also very recently, by the way, and then and 676. So that's a lot of missions that they have not done. If you want the total tally of Group 6 missions, that's been 63 so far.
There you go.
In total, this will be the 64th, of course, and then they have another 2 more scheduled after this one, which is 669 and 668. As you can see, they are definitely not in order.
Do you mind quickly explaining, by the way, what a Starlink group is?
Yeah, it's just essentially a set of missions that, between all of them, they have something in common. And so that's why they are all within the same group. And so, for example, before I even go into the intricacies and everything, we have some different groups, though, that they seem to be the same. We just don't know what are the differences, although we have some speculations about that. For example, just to put here a very quick sort of like, an example of this is Group 7 missions and Group 11 missions are missions that launch V2 mini satellites from Vandenberg, and they both go to a 53-degree inclination orbit. We just don't know what else is different. It seems like maybe what's different is that the ones from Group 11 end up being in a different altitude than the ones, once they go into their operational orbit, that operational orbit seems to be different altitude than the ones that went through, Group 7 missions. That's at least our theory so far. For example, we also have Group 8 missions that also happened from, those both happened from here from the Cape and also from Vandenberg. They happened from both coasts. They carried both V2 mini satellites and direct-to-cell satellites. Group 9 missions also are from Vandenberg, and they also carry V2 mini satellites and direct-to-cell satellites. So, and they also are from the same 53-degree inclination orbit. So there's a bunch of these groups. I usually post like a rundown of which groups are what. on every single quarterly article that I publish every 3 months. So by the end of the year, you're gonna see one of those. But you know what you're gonna see soon? That T-minus 20-minute event, which should happen in about 10
Wonderful.
seconds from now.
Hey, Alex, do you mind explaining to us what that T minus 20 minute event is doing?
Yeah, so there should be going. Let me see.
Huh?
Hang on.
We're
Oh
hanging
yeah,
on.
it's going. It's just that there you go. It's going around the tower. We're used to seeing it sort of to the side, to the right, but it's going straight into the tower. So that's where the wind is going. By the way, for those that were curious where the wind was going today, it's going straight west out of there from the launch site. So yeah, that venting that is coming from the Stromback, from the transport director, they're essentially just cooling down the lines right now, or at least until a few minutes ago. Those lines were at an ambient temperature, the temperature that was out there in Florida. I'm guessing Jay will need to fix that timeline overlay, but anyways,
There it is.
so yeah, and they're about to load that liquid oxygen on the second stage. You can see there the next step on the countdown is stage 2 LOX load begins. That is at T-minus 16 minutes. So they're about to flow a lot of cool cryogenic liquid through that pipe, and so they don't want to have a thermal shock or suddenly make all of that liquid oxygen boil off and create an overpressure of sorts, and so that's what they're doing right now. Similar thing we'll see at T-minus 7 minutes as well when they do engine chill on the Merlin engines, but we'll get there when we get there.
Absolutely. We will get there when we get there. I see some people, like, I saw a question of, like, will we try to attempt streaming the nuke land static fire once it happens? If we get, like, a good view of it and, like, a good timing of it, yes. D, you would fancy seeing a nuke land static fire, right?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to see that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's more a matter of, like, will we be, like, will we have the timing and everything to do it? But yeah, if we have, totally. I mean, why not? It's an amazing rocket.
Yeah, as long as like Texas doesn't get in the way.
Yeah, there's I will not say that state name. Yesterday that sparked a bit of a discussion. So I will refrain from that. There is a question that we got here from Screen Name, who's now a Capcom member for 20 months. Could the Vandy scrub be due to the wildfires south of the launch site? And is there a new launch date or a time? D, there are some potential rules that could explain that, right?
Absolutely. So one of the documents that I love going through is the 45th Weather Squadron's FAQ infographic, and a bit down there they have the like lightning launch commit criteria, and actually one of those is the smoke plume rule. And so there are a number of considerations, but this is 45th specific. We don't have the sort of specifics for the West Coast, but if a smoke plume forms a cloud, a rocket cannot go through that cloud unless certain temperature considerations are met. The cloud has separated from said smoke plume, and so there needs to be a certain amount of distance and a certain amount of time. And so there are all those things that have to come together, because there are a lot of different risks with rocket involving lightning and the like. So whether it's just normal thick clouds, the electric fields on the ground. So we don't have specific data on it, but there are absolutely constraints for smoke plume connected clouds. And I think that's really cool. And something cool is not necessarily the right term to use there. I think it's really interesting to understand all of these constraints as it goes to impact space flight, because there are a number of rules that we don't see on a regular basis, but are important considerations nonetheless.
Absolutely. There you go. It's so it could be. We don't know exactly, but it could be, right? That Vandy scrubbed because of the wildfires. So yeah, it's a possibility. It's in the playing field. And with that, we are just 15 minutes away from hopefully finally seeing the launch of Starlink 6-77, which has been a bit of a pain to get off the pad. Let's word it like that. But so far, we have heard that SpaceX has not notified us of any issues, and they also called the weather good. I think they called it great or fantastic, somewhere, some fancy word.
Excellent.
So, excellent. They called it excellent. So yeah, let's hope weather and rockets stay excellent until the very last second here. And let's get some more questions in here. Alex, 98 Central is wondering if SpaceX were to manufacture fairings that were like larger, would they have to undergo recertification of everything?
We're 6 inches larger.
Or like in general, the question, like if they would change fairings, would that mean they have
Well,
to
yeah.
recertify things?
Yeah, they will have to undergo testing and recertification, not just for like customers, but also for the sake of peace of mind, right? When you are debuting new hardware, you kind of want to test it and make sure that there's no stone left unturned and things like that, right? That you really made sure that that piece of hardware was properly tested and verified to work. And so that's, for example, what they have been doing with the extended fairing. Last year, it entered a set of testing, if I'm not mistaken. And so we have not heard though what came out of that. We have not heard what is the sort of latest information, right, on what's going on with that program. But we do know that they went through and started testing last year on the Falcon 9 extended fairing, or rather Falcon in general extended fairing, because it's also being used on Falcon Heavy. And so yeah, and anytime that you kind of change something, even if it's just a little bit, you kind of want to make sure that it's safe, that it's fine to go with it.
There you go. Because it changes stuff, right? If a fairing changes, aerodynamic changes, weight load changes, you have to consider that and adjust for that. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's the thing. Matrix is asking, any reason to travel to Starbase next week? I will rephrase that. Yeah, right now it seems, based on SpaceX confirmation and also the NOTAM that was published, that SpaceX is targeting the 18th of November at 4 p.m. local time for the 6th flight of Starship. So there you go. It's happening apparently. And I know some people were like, oh, but the launch license and everything, there's no need for a new launch license for this one. This one is already covered in paperwork previously approved by the FAA, which was already approved back when they also approved the flight for Flight 5. So there will be no launch license watching or anything. This is absolutely apparently happening. And I know, Matrix, you didn't say Starbase, but I adjusted. I adjusted.
Yeah, they wrote Texas.
Yep. Byte Forward gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much. And then we have a Thorough Swordsman with the $10 super chat saying, fun fact, you can dope solid rocket fuel with cesium, which due to how easy it is to ionize the plume and can be used to induce a controlled lightning strike for scientific study, or just use a wire. I like to add, like, you can do this very complex, or you just use a wire. So yeah, thank you for that information. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I will look that up actually. And with that, we are just 11 minutes away from the launch of this Starlink mission. Starlink. A quick question again, Alex. Where will this land, and how often did this booster fly so far?
How many flights? It's done 2 flights: Starlink Group 10-5 and Crew 9.
There you go. to just 2 flights. I refer to it again. It's a baby. It's like basically it's brand new. It's just 3 flights now with this one. So let's hope it lowers its scrap rate a bit, because this booster has now scrapped more often than the whole Starship program. So yeah, it's a thing. And with that, I wanna mention something, and that is of course something where you can what you can get in the NSF store, and also support photographers that we have in the team, and that's of course our print selection. I will not call it only the metal print selection anymore, but the print selection, because you can also get paper prints in our print selection, and for every single item that you buy in the print selection, you will support the photographer that took it. You can see we have the Eclipse, we have Starship, we have Delta, we have the VAB. I think that's a shot from UD, right? The VAB.
It sure is.
There you go. So if you want to support the photographers, get something cool for your wall, and show other people that visit your home how much you love rockets, that's shop.nasaspaceflight.com, and then you click on the top on prints, and there you can find both paper and metal prints. That's concluding the quick store mention here, but wanted to give that information. Also, quickly, service information: Raptor site will not happening today to deconflict with the stream. It will happen at 2 p.m. Central on Friday, which is tomorrow. And you can also find that information in the Starbase Live chat pinned at the top. Thank you, Chris B, for that information. So, here we go. 9 minutes to go. Does KC or SpaceX have a max number of launches allowed a year due to disruption of planes and ships? I don't have any high limit in remembrance for the flight rate from KC. Alex, is there like a limit, or do you know, like one of you know if there's a regulatory limit of Falcon launches right now from the Cape?
I certainly don't know of one. I think they're currently limited by their ability to recover the boosters, get them back on the pad, and their turnaround time off the pad. But I know they still have room to speed up there. So as far as an actual regulatory limit, I'm not sure.
There you go. Alex, any additional? You're also not aware of a limit, right?
I'm not sure. I do know that at least from an environmental side of things, I think the latest was from an environmental impact statement way back in 2020. I remember when that went out because it had something along the lines of like 70 or 80 Falcon 9 launches out of the Cape, right? And we were all like, yeah, there's no chance that's ever going to happen. And well, here we are.
Yep. How many launches from the Cape are so far this year? Do you have that handy, that statistic?
Yeah, hang on, just give me a sec.
I will give you a
so
sec.
huge. Yeah. It's been 70 launches so far, 19 from 39A and 51 from 40. This will be the 71st out of the Cape.
There you go. That's so 80, very much doable actually.
Yep.
Probably I would almost say likely. So yeah, it's a thing. Let me find some more questions here. Any news on the shrubbery laser mower? I don't think the KSC would like us if we start to remove that shrubbery in front of the camera. They would probably not appreciate that move.
I would like to. You know, if we get the permission, I would gladly volunteer some time to help clear that shrubbery.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we would. But I feel like that's like environmental protection zone, right? It's right in front of you where that shrubbery is.
Yeah, I'm sure something about being a national wildlife area, like.
Also, the chances are never zero that somewhere in there is an alligator.
Oh, there's definitely many alligators in there. We hear them all the time.
What do they sound? Like, what do you hear?
So it's actually really funny. You hear them most, I would say, after more like late night launches. and because they get a bit disturbed by the sound, and then you hear this sort of growling sound. I don't even know how I could describe it. It's just a really low pitched, like sort of guttural sound. No, I'm not going to do an impression, Chris.
I saw that, Con. Yeah, we'll not do any gator impressions today. Maybe in the future. And with that, I think it's time to say a goodbye for now to you because you're heading out to track a rocket launch for us.
Yes, I will see you all on the other side of this launch.
Absolutely. Good luck tracking. With that, we are just 5 minutes away here from potentially a launch of Starlink 6-77. And Alex, what's the final steps now that Falcon 9 undergoes and these final 5 minutes?
Yeah, so right now they have already wrapped up RP1 load onto the first stage. And just as you heard that, they are preparing Falcon 9 for the retraction of the Stromback. They're going to be essentially opening the clamps at the top of the rocket. Then the Stromback will retract about 1.7 degrees out from the rocket. And that allows the Stromback to be sort of in a ready position for, once liftoff happens. There you go. That's the start of the retraction sequence. Once liftoff happens, then the Stromback can retract all the way out from the lift, from the rocket, so that it can clear everything very cleanly and get away from all of those 9 Merlin engines at the bottom of the rocket. In parallel, right now they are wrapping up liquid oxygen load on both stages. Stage 1 liquid oxygen load should be wrapping up in about a minute from now, followed a minute later with stage 2. And once that happens, we'll see the comeback of the Stromback vent that we saw about 17 minutes ago. And so that'll be, wrapping up the propellant load sequence, trying to get all of those lines cleared out for liftoff so that they don't have anything else in them that could catch fire or any other sort of hazard like that. And so just waiting for those final few call outs and heading into the final few minutes of the count.
Absolutely, and we like to hear. What was the point where? How far did we get the one time where they scrapped?
Right around the time of stage 1 LOX load complete. Okay. So about I don't exactly remember, but it was between T-2 and T-3 minutes.
So somewhere in here. So we are almost past the point
Stage
where
1 LOX load is complete.
There it is.
There it is. So from now on, they're starting to bring these LOX tanks to pressure because there's a certain flight pressure and a certain flight temperature that you need to have in these tanks in preparation for liftoff. So that is happening now. And of course, in 90 seconds from now, Falcon 9 will undergo startup, which is when the autonomous computer of the rocket itself, take over the launch countdown, and from there it's the rocket controlling itself and monitoring itself in preparation for liftoff. Of course, space, I always get see this question of does that mean SpaceX has no control over the rocket anymore? They have. SpaceX still has the ability to abort or anything in that 1 minute. It's just the primary controller is the Falcon 9.
Yeah, at least until T-10 seconds. The final 10 seconds are very, very active, right? That's when the deluge activates and they have all of these processes to start the engines and everything at T-3 seconds.
LOX load is complete.
And that's the final call out for propellant load. So that means propellant load has wrapped up on Falcon 9. And there you can see the comeback of that Stromback vent. That is indication that they are clearing out the lines. We'll probably hear one of these gas closeouts, call-outs as well, that they do as they clear those lines.
Gas closeouts.
See, there you go.
It's going smoothly so far. And again, 15 seconds from now, Falcon 9 will take over the countdown, and then it's just a rocket preparing to lift off. Everything looking good. Again, friendly reminder here, this rocket first stage will attempt a landing on Just Read the Instructions stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. That will happen a bit later in the flight. And with that, everything looking
Falcon
promising
9
so
is in
far.
startup.
There you go. 45 seconds from now, launch director will announce go for launch very soon. And any second.
Go for launch.
There you go. Took a bit of time. But that's just 30 seconds from now. You will see if we get the right angle and everything that there will be a flash at the bottom of the rocket where the T-tab will be used to ignite all 9 Merlin engines, and of course the deluge system spools up. And once the rocket confirms full power on all 9 Merlin engines, they will release the clamps and Falcon 9 lifts off. 3 seconds from now, watch the bottom of the rocket, that's where the action happens. And there's the plume, there's ignition and liftoff. Third time's the charm indeed for Starlink 6-77, launching a batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites into a low Earth orbit satellite constellation. Let's listen in for the sound. And here we go, 90 seconds into flight, and we see finally a Falcon 9 in the air. Looking good so far, amazing tracking also so far from D. And yeah, you can now see the plume expansion as that rocket is going into the lesser dense part of the atmosphere. So the plume has to fight against less atmosphere. Alex, looking good so far.
Yeah, so far so good. Looks like, 2 minutes into flight, everything seems to be continuing as it should be going. Right now we are approaching MECO, main engine cutoff. That's when all 9 Merlin engines will shut down on the booster, and then we'll have stage separation and then back ignition.
Yep. Watch for the stage separation maneuver to be executed here any second from now. And I think there it is. That's MECO. And first stage and second stage separation. And then we have SES-1, the start of the second stage engine, the Merlin vacuum engine on
There's the
second stage. There we go. Wonderful mission so far. There's the MVAC in the beautiful non-stubby configuration. As you can now see, it's starting to speed up. Because, again, that is a majority of the horizontal velocity.
And meanwhile, the first stage is preparing for that re-entry, deploying the grid fins. On the right-hand side, you'll see the fairing separation from the second stage.
You can see how clean that fairing is on Starlink missions.
Yeah, they don't carry. There you go, views from space. But yeah, it's stripped down of all of the acoustic paneling and things like that. Other more finicky satellites, right, so to speak, they really prefer a good environment, so they have all these requirements to be in a very specialized atmosphere inside of the fairing.
Trajectories.
Good. And you see all of these acoustic paneling to avoid all of the acoustics from the launch to impact the satellites and whatnot, and so they protect those satellites. But Starlinks, they are Starlinks. They are just different. They are built to endure all of this.
They are built different, yes.
Yeah.
There you go. 4 minutes into flight. Next thing we will see is the entry burn. The entry burn, of course, happening at 6 minutes and 2 seconds. And that is used to slow the Falcon 9 first stage down because then it hits the denser part of the atmosphere with less speed and hopefully results in less energy.
Are you looking at chat?
I see that. Yes,
Yeah.
I see it.
Joe Renard is in chat. Hi, Joe. By the way,
Hey, Joe Renard.
built different. Yes.
I had to say it.
That's how it tends to go. But yeah, take a look also at the telemetry from the first stage. It has already reached apogee, the highest point in its trajectory, and it's now coming back down. You can see that speed now picking up. Sort of like, when you throw up something in the air, as it goes up to the highest point in its trajectory, it is at its lowest speed, but then as it comes back down, it accelerates similarly with Falcon 9's booster. And so, as you mentioned, to protect against that re-entry through the atmosphere, it's going to come down very fast, over 7,000 kilometers per hour. So it needs to do that entry burn. Should be in about a minute or so from now.
Yep, everything looking good so far. SpaceX confirming both stages on normal trajectory. And
James Wilson asking, what is spewing from the neck of the nozzle? That is the bleed line from the MVAC engine. That is a normal vent that happens to be able to control that operation of the engine. It's completely normal. It's not a leak or anything. It is a very much like all of the previously successful missions of Falcon 9. So nothing to worry.
Yeah, you can. If Alex is on a Falcon 9 stream, you can know it's normal because he has not said stuff like, and that's always like if Alex starts to see something that is different, that's usually a bad sign.
Yeah, I can already tell you when Starlink 9.3 happened, I saw all of that ice and I said, yeah, that's not good. But one thing that we really want to be good right now.
Stage 1 FTS has safed.
Is that entry burn. There you go.
It's a very pronounced way to say that. That was very clear. 3 engines right now burning on the engine entry burn. You can see that by the thrust being a line instead of like a circle. If it's 1 engine, it's more circle. If it's 3 engines, it's more line.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
There's 1 engine now and shut down.
There you go. And by the way, some ice, a little bit of ice you can see there on the MVAC on the right.
Nominal.
Thank you. That little bit of ice, it's normal because
Stage 2 FTS has safed.
There you go. Trying to let the operators to say their thing, but yeah, some little bit of ice is normal. First of all, because the thing that is being vented out from there is oxygen, and that oxygen sometimes it condensates into solid ice chunks, and that falls there. But it's okay. That little bit, it's okay. It was 9.3 was a lot more ice, but you can see there, Falcon 9 B1085 going through the atmosphere, slowing down using those grid fins, trying to steer itself to the drone ship. What a view, man! Like going through that layer of high altitude clouds.
Transonic.
Looking good so far. The landing, of course, planned at 8 minutes and 11 seconds. And we don't expect sound today, correct, Alex?
You never know. It's just read the instructions. So far, we have not had any microphones out there from SpaceX, but you never know. So let's see. That's a landing burn. Check out the speed going down.
You can see it fighting the aerodynamics.
Yeah.
There's the drone ship. The grid fins now doing their steering work here. Looking good. There are the landing legs. And touchdown of B1085 for a 3rd time.
That was a lot more smoky.
Yep, there was a lot of smoke on the camera direction.
Yeah, but the first stage is vertical on the drone ship, so that's good.
I rate this landing 8 out of. I rate this landing 8 out of 10. A bit too much smoke for my taste, and I think they were a bit off of center. So 8 out of 10. You cannot give out 10 out of 10s too much, Chad. You have to like it devalues if you just give out the best grades every time. So there we go. Falcon 9 has launched. D, do we have you back?
Indeed, I am back, and I am working on a bit of slow-mo for everyone. Now, I'm curious, were y'all able to hear the jet that was flying around leading up to launch and well after launch?
I think we heard it well after launch. I think we heard it like somewhere in the like almost like 90 minutes or so, 90 seconds or so in.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, that was basically I took off my headphones as I was leaving comms and I started to hear the jet and I was looking around for it and it was pretty high up, so I couldn't get a good look at what it was. But yeah, that was really it was reminding me of when we had the F-22s out chasing the Falcon 9 for the launch.
wonder why they do that. It's like just a fun thing. I mean, there has to be some
Yeah, I
reason
think
for
they
it.
can I think they can just call it training, flight training.
Oh, they're like, oh no, we have to fly the same moment where the rocket launches. Oh no. We have to watch the rocket launch. I would be like
Yeah,
that.
that would be a very, very cool way to watch a rocket launch. That is for sure.
Probably. I would not be opposed to watching a rocket launch from a jet. So
No, definitely not. It would have its challenges for sure as far as tracking, but that would that'd be quite the view.
Yep. And are you happy with what you saw on your slow-mo?
I think so. I'll let everyone else give it a look as it renders, and then it'll start uploading in about a minute. So I think I'm pretty happy with it. It is hard to tell in the sun because the sun is now out and shining on my laptop screen, so I don't have the clearest view. But I'm pretty happy with it, I think.
Alex, I know the Cape schedule is a bit of a funky time lately. When would you expect the next launches from the Cape?
Well, we should have the next launch, Starlink 669, very shortly. I believe the the marine notices and whatnot seem to imply a launch in about 3 days from now, somewhere around the 9th or the 10th of November. And then we'll have another launch, but this time from Launch Complex 39A of the KoreaSat 6A spacecraft out of 39A. That will feature a booster RTLS, a return to launch site, and then hopefully another Starlink mission after that from Slick 40 from here, right on the heels of 669. They're going to do 668. That should be a little bit later, sort of, middle of next week. So that's sort of, that's just the Cape next week. They have at least another, maybe 2 more launches out of Vandenberg as well. So potentially 5 launches from SpaceX in the next week. And the following week after that, well, the big boy, Starship, is also going to be launching. So stay tuned.
Yeah, just for context, just to give you this, because I think that's a funny context. Starship launches on the 18th, hopefully. You know how many Falcon 9s they might launch until that point? Which is in 11 days from now? 6. They still plan to launch 6 Falcon 9s before Starship. Yeah, so far. Before Starship launches. They like their schedule. So yeah.
There might be even room for a 7th launch.
Because
if timing allows it.
Because Starlink 668 and clears on Slick 40, so they could, in theory, launch KoreaSat 6A and Optus X from 39, and then launch another on Slick 40 on Sunday or something.
Yeah, KoreaSat is on from 39A. We think Optus X is also going to be from 39A, but right now, if you look at Nexus Spaceflight, is currently we still don't know. We don't have any confirmation officially, right? If it's going to be Slick 40 or 39A. So we just kept, either one or the other. But I have the thinking that it's probably going to be 39A. But I was thinking more about Vandenberg because right now we have someone was asking in chat, by the way, when is the next Vandenberg launch? That's going to be currently scheduled for 10 14 p.m. Pacific. That will be 1:14 a.m. Eastern this Friday night. So stay tuned for that. And there you go. Those replays of the launch today. But if all goes well, after that launch, they'll be able to maybe do another 2 more launches out of Vandenberg before Starship. So that will be 7 launches in total if they are able to hit all of their marks.
And there we see some replays here. I think Ryan Caton also behind the scenes helped tracking this launch. There's one of the, I think, HUD views where we see the Falcon 9 taking flight from 40. Wonderful. Always cool to see. There's the bit of the wider view. There it goes. Wonderful. Sometimes you can see on these wider shots how it starts to pitch a bit.
And with this one, by the way, for those that are curious at home, this will be already in total 7,236 Starlink satellites launched so far. Not all of them are in orbit though. Some have re-entered, some have been disposed of, or some have failed, right? But the great majority of those are still in orbit and also in their operational orbit. More than 6,000 of them are already operational.
There we go. And it's a very functioning constellation. We have, we have people in the team that use Starlink, so yeah, it works. It's very much.
My slow-mo was uploaded via Starlink.
There you go. And also, I think Ryan's tracking was via Starlink, basically. So yeah, kinda on theme for this. With that, I wanna start thanking people. Starting with Alex. Thanks, Alex, for doing this 3 times with me.
It's okay. I enjoy commentating on live streams anyways, and hopefully I see you all next time. I have no idea when that might be, but in terms of launches, we'll be covering whatever happens here at the Cape.
Yep, absolutely. And I also want to thank D Wise in the field, tracking today's launch, recording some amazing slow-mo that we are about to see. Thank you, D.
Always a great day when you get to see a launch.
Absolutely, I agree. Behind the scenes, we had Jay Keegan operating the launch and making sure everything looks nice, preparing replays, checking sound, and all the magic things producers do that I don't understand. Thank you so much, Jay. Before I start to outro me, I want to quickly mention that tomorrow we have another episode of the Flame Trench, which we will, of course, show here at NSF. Hopefully on Saturday, we have another Starlink. We will, of course, broadcast on Monday, KoreaSat, and also Monday, we will most likely have a return of our preview show to the next Starship launch called Countdown to Launch, where we will give you everything you need to know before the next Starship flight. My name is Adrian Bai. I was your host for today, and I thank you so much for joining us today. And with that, let's enjoy the rest of these slow-mos, and we will see you all on the next Falcon 9.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Say again, FD off. Off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?